Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Super Talk. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Super Talks. I'm here with Damon Wilson, who's my co-host, and we have some very important guests with a very important topic. So we're excited about this one. Damon, tell us about our guests.
Hello, everybody. Today we have two very, very special guests joining us. We have Sylvia Gamboa, Director of Guidance and Counseling, and we also have with us Angela Totham, who is Student Wellness Specialist. Thank you so much for joining us today.
And as we educate children, one of the things that we know is it's all about making sure that kids are not only academically inclined, but that they also understand the importance of understanding themselves. And if you look at mental health today and all the things that are going on, school districts by design have to target that. So what are we doing to make sure that we put our kids in a position to get the services that they need if they need help around mental health?
Yeah, so mental health awareness is very important. That's always the first step. So when we're talking to our students and our staff, it's very important that we are able to communicate to them not only the resources that we have available, but how important it is to communicate with each other when we're talking about any mental health issues that we might be struggling with, and having that open communication with our students and letting them know that they can come in and speak to their school counselor, which is a great first step for any of our students who are experiencing any mental health struggles. You know, connecting with that school counselor is important because our counselors are very skilled and they are able to, work with the students to determine what it is that they may be needing and how they can connect them with those resources. So whether it's something that we have here in the district, whether it's one of our counseling student wellness specialists or a licensed professional counselor, or if it's an outside, partnership, one of the community partnerships that we have in the behavioral health centers that we work with, or a community counselor, our counselors can really help the parent and the students make those connections as well.
And Damon and I were talking earlier, and I don't know about you, Damon, but when I was in high school, you think back to just the stresses of life, just kind of going through situations you go through as a teenager. And I mean, what are your thoughts on that and how our kids are dealing with just mental health and all the stresses that come with life in 2023?
Well, I think one of the things that I'm seeing, and this is something that I think kind of transcends time, is there's such a stigma around mental health that somehow we're just supposed to be okay, or we're just supposed to be able to just deal with it. And I think that one of the most important things for us is for us to be able to have the ability to recognize in ourselves or in people that we observe when we see someone struggling or we ourselves are struggling in a way. What are some of the things that, in you all's professional opinion, are signs that we know that we should be seeking help, or that we are identifying someone that is crying out for help when they don't even know it?
So that is kind of where self-awareness comes from, that I was going to touch on here today. Knowing, what you're experiencing, when something feels different and off for you, right? And helping our children to develop that self-awareness as well. And as parents, we can tell when our child is either acting differently, not responding the same. So just having that awareness is the first step. And as you mentioned about the stigma with mental health, that is definitely something that we're trying to break, because we want to eliminate the stigma of mental health. I think we've come a long way in reducing that stigma, but we still have a ways to go. Mm-hmm. And our physical health and our mental health are very interrelated.
Yes.
If we're not feeling well physically, we're not feeling well mentally, and vice versa. And if we can get to a point as a community and as a society to where when we say the word health, we automatically know that we're talking about our mental and our physical health. That is where we want to be, because of that close link, right? So that's something that we want to address.
And that's important for all the parents that are out there, all the moms and dads. I think that's a wonderful point. we know our children, we know their tendencies, we know their personalities. So if you're seeing your child as being more quiet than usual, if they seem to be crying for no reason, or you see that they're just not being themselves, don't be afraid to ask for help. To Damon's point, to the points being made, don't be afraid of a stigma in saying that my child needs help or he's dealing with anxiety or depression. But if there are parents out there right now and they're saying, well, this hits home for me because my kid is doing that now, who can they call? What do they do?
Yeah, the great first step is definitely connecting with the school counselor. So our counselors are really there at the forefront, and they are part of our Tier 1 services to support all students. And they provide, really great counseling and guidance for our students. And so when students come in or parents reach out to our counselors, they are very well equipped to work with each of those individual students because their needs may be very different. And as a parent, it can be overwhelming. So you're already maybe dealing with noticing these symptoms in your child, and it can encompass so many things, as you were mentioning, Dr. Gonzalez, but also even just changes in sleeping or eating patterns. I mean, some of them, the symptoms can be very, might not seem so loud, right, or evident. So, but as a parent, as Ms. Totman mentioned, parents know their children better than anybody, but they may not know where to go or what type of counseling or what kind of support to seek. So our school counselors are very good about working with parents and trying to collaborate with them and guiding them through that process. And our counselors have done a really great job. So they are continually connecting with those parents. So that's a really great first step to kind of get that guidance on where to go next.
And that's important. So if there are any parents or students, for that matter, that are dealing with something now, maybe you're dealing with anxiety as a student because you have anxiety with tests, or maybe you're dealing with relationship issues as a high school student, or maybe you're currently the victim of bullying, or maybe you're even bullying somebody. There's just a multitude of things that happen in the world of a student. And please don't feel like you can't come forward. And also don't think that the adults are not here to help. I think a lot of times we think that the adults are so busy, and there's these two worlds that are going on, the world of the student and then the world of the adult. In Harlingen CISD, we want our students to understand that we're here for you, and you got to step forward, and no matter what, you got to step forward so that we can provide the services. What are you thinking, Damon?
Well, I also feel like as well, and this is something that you and I have talked about, is that it's important not only for students, but also for our teachers as well as for our parents as well, to also recognize the need for help within themselves as well. Life has a lot of different pressures. And when we as adults are affected, we also, that affects our students. It affects their learning. It affects, everything. And so I think it's important for everybody that we get rid of the shame of saying, I'm at a low moment right now, but it's going to get better. But we're going to reach out or whatever for someone that can help pull us out of that in order to be the best that we can be for ourselves, so that we can also be the best that we can be for our kids.
This was actually a point that I wanted to address. Let me go back a little bit and acknowledge the fact that being a parent is the most challenging job in the world, right? So let's give ourselves a pat on the back. I have 3 children with very different needs. Let's give ourselves a pat on the back for all the work that we do in supporting our children to start with. But as you addressed, I think the biggest thing that parents can do to support their children's mental health is to work on their own mental health.
Yes.
Because you can't give what you don't have. And our children are watching us more than we may realize. They could be in another room, but they know exactly what's going on. They are very aware, right? So they're watching to see how we handle difficult situations, how we cope with stress, how we regulate our emotions. A lot of our children, our young people, are struggling with emotional with managing their emotions, first of all, and then regulating their emotions. And a lot of adults are struggling with that as well. So really, it's about working on being the best version of yourself as a person, developing that self-love, and then you're able to be the best parent, the best spouse, the best coworker, the best friend, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the first step is working on yourself, and then you're able to model that for your children, and that's how they learn best, right? That's how they learn, is by seeing and modeling.
And I absolutely love that point. And we've been talking as a staff about the fact that we're going to raise the emotional quotient of the entire organization. So all 3,000 employees, all 17,000 students are going to work on the self-awareness you're talking about, the self-regulation, the motivation, the empathy, the social skills. We want moms and dads to do the same. But in something of that magnitude, in trying to raise the emotional quotient, it doesn't happen in isolation, and it doesn't happen through osmosis. It happens through systems and processes, and it happens through a commitment. So to all the parents, all the students, all the community members, we know how important mental health is, but we got to work at it. And the good news is we have partnerships. We have counselors. We have teachers, we have sponsors, we have coaches, we have a superintendent, we have people on the Super Talks, we have all kinds of people that are leaning forward on this one. So that's exciting to me as a dad and as a staff member to know that HCISD is being proactive around this very important topic.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and can you tell us about HCISD Family Plus?
Yes, we have a Family Plus program. It's through the Family and Community Engagement Department. So we collaborate with them, and they provide counseling and presentations with for our parents and our students, and their mental health presentations. But in addition to that, we do have our licensed professional counselor there. And so we're working on the two pieces. We have that education and awareness piece, but we also have our licensed professional counselor. So Ms. Rosalinda Cruz is available for any HCISD student Monday through Thursday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And it is no cost to our students. There is no referral needed. There's no appointment needed. And so we have students who utilize those services, and she does a phenomenal job working with our students. So that is all part of our Family Plus program that happens at our Annex building. And that's just one of the other resources that we have available for our students.
That is wonderful.
I love that. And there's a lot of moving parts to it. Just the fact that we have those services, but then even looking at the campus level, looking at the district as a whole, we have to look at it in its entirety. And to all the parents, just giving you a preview of what's coming. We're talking about mental health, but we want to create environments that are structured. We want to create environments where kids are working on their mental health and they have services, but how you do anything is how you do everything. So we're going to look at dress code. We're going to look at what we're letting kids eat, you know, these bags of candies that we're letting kids bring to school, and classroom parties that are just, we're going to set some parameters. So when we start setting parameters on dress code, and we start setting parameters on what we allow kids to eat, and we start setting parameters on how we're going to expect our students to conduct themselves, now you have an environment that's conducive, not only to learning, but to being the best version of yourself. So I mention this because this is where we're going to need your help. This is where we need the community to come together and say, yeah, we're working on mental health, but we're working on the academic program. We're working on the dress code. We're working on the nutrition plan. We're working on the physical fitness side. We're working on everything because there's a sense of urgency to make sure that our students reach their full potential.
Correct.
And the only way that happens is if everybody is engaged and leaning forward. And sometimes we're going to have to agree to disagree. But I know on this one, there's one thing we'll always agree on, is that we're going to do what's best for our students.
Absolutely.
So that's a big part, and a plug I wanted to put right in there just to make sure that the parents and community members and staff members and everybody else knows that we're on this quest to be the best, but it takes work. Nothing's going to be handed to us. And I'm excited as a dad. I have a 4th, 5th, and 6th grader. My wife works in the district as well. I'm just excited to be part of this because it's a special time. What are you thinking, Damon? How can... You're in the theater world. You're in the fine arts world. Well, what can we do as somebody that's putting on productions, as somebody? I mean, we see the work you do at the conservatory. It's world class. We got state
Thank you.
championships. We got all these wonderful things that are happening. How does that tie into mental health? And how does a student being involved in extracurriculars tie into mental health?
Well, I can speak to it from a theater perspective. With our students, one of the things that we really stress upon in the conservatory is that to act and to play a different character is to, first of all, you have to understand yourself first. And you have to be comfortable with you first. And that the more and more you are learning about other people, that really you're learning more and more about you. You're learning about, even when they're playing characters that are villains or doing bad things, that's an opportunity to learn. That's what you don't do. That's how you're not successful in life, while also still finding that person's humanity at the same time. But we deal a lot with students that have had all kinds of things that have happened to them in their lives, divorces and, illnesses and deaths and things like that. And sometimes in our rehearsals, things can get very emotional because a student will tap into that and bring that out. And we have to be very cognizant to be able to stop and to be able to address that. And do you feel safe? And do you feel okay? And all of that. And what I tend to find with our students is that there's a lot of healing. Theater is therapy in a way because they come out of these productions. So many students that I've seen that have sometimes gone in very depressed or considered at risk, and they've come out healed and whole because they say to themselves, if my character can survive this, I can too. Because we teach them these plays are not just written just out of people's just imaginations. They're written from life experiences, and they're teaching you things through that. So they're able to see that kind of in real time as those characters are learning those things. They're also learning that about themselves.
Well,
So what is that therapy for you? Is what I would say to the audience is find your outlet for that. Is that art? Is that music? Is it football? Football saved a lot of kids' lives. And I know I played football. Believe it's a little known fact, but I played football, and it was at a tough time in my life. And those were the moments, being able to get that aggression out and the exercise where I felt like, oh, mind, body, and soul is all together at one time. But you've got to find that for you. Is it running? Is it music? Is it cooking? What is it for you that's your outlet that gives you that balance, I think is so important. And that's why I think what you're doing in this district is so incredible. And what you all's work is so incredible because it's not just about study. How do you study when your environment isn't right in here and in here? And so you've got to get this and this together before you can then see results on the test. And that's critical. And I really appreciate you for that.
And I appreciate you all. And this was a powerful discussion. So to all the moms and dads and everybody out there, please know that HCISD is leaning forward on mental health. And we hope that you took a nugget away from this Super Talks and that it made you a better person. And we're looking forward to the next one. So thank you all for joining us and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.